In the next few minutes, I'll take you on a tour of the AirHawk MMR air mask. I'll show you donning and doffing procedures, how and what to check before use, and give you some tips on how to get the most from your AirHawk MMR air mask. In the inspection and maintenance segment of this program, I'll show you how to clean and sanitize the apparatus, how to inspect for damage or other conditions that can compromise your air mask's performance. The AirHawk MMR air mask is available in several slightly different configurations, so your apparatus may not look exactly like this one. It comes in low pressure 2216 PSIG and high pressure 4500 PSIG configurations. I like to follow the air when I give this tour, so let's start with the cylinder. Cylinders and cylinder bands are color-coded by pressure rating. Yellow for 2216 PSIG and green for 4500 PSIG high pressure cylinders. A cylinder strap holds the cylinder to the carrier. Each cylinder has a cylinder gauge, cylinder valve, and relief valve. The cylinder coupling nut connects the cylinder to the system. For the purposes of this program, left and right are the wearer's left and right while wearing the apparatus. The first stage regulator has two hoses leading out of it. The rubber hose travels along the left shoulder pad to the mask-mounted regulator, or MMR. If equipped with an airline adapter, a short rubber hose leads out of a T-block located directly above the first stage regulator to an airline adapter that mounts to the waist belt. The airline adapter is a quick disconnect fitting. The fabric-covered gauge line travels along the right shoulder strap to the harness pressure gauge and end of service time indicator, or EOSTI. The standard EOSTI is a whistle audible alarm that sounds when rated service time drops below approximately 25%. Your AirHawk may be equipped with an optional ICM 2000, which combines a redundant end of service time indicator and a pass device that alarms when the user is motionless for 18 seconds. Or an optional ICM 2000 Plus that adds a built-in computer that digitally displays SCBA performance information and offers data logging for up to 30 hours of SCBA usage information. Data includes duration of use, air consumption rate, ambient temperature, and alarm activation. An IR, or infrared port, allows users to download information to a personal computer. See the ICM 2000 Plus manual for complete downloading instructions. Both the ICM 2000 and ICM 2000 Plus turn on automatically when the AirHawk is pressurized. Both have two operating modes, monitoring and alarm. Both have sensors that detect user motion and switch the unit into alarm mode when the user is motionless for a preset period of time. Both have two control buttons, a yellow reset off button and a red alarm button. The reset off button resets the device from the full alarm mode. It also shuts the unit off after the system is depressurized. The red alarm button activates a full alarm mode whether the SCBA is pressurized or not. The AirHawk MMR has easy-to-use controls, a bypass knob, and two release buttons. The release buttons double as shutoff buttons. The AirHawk MMR connects to an Ultra Elite facepiece. Before I demonstrate the proper donning method, a few checks will help make sure the air mask is ready for use. First, make sure the cylinder is fully charged and that its pressure rating matches that of your apparatus. Use only high-pressure cylinders on high-pressure apparatus and low-pressure cylinders on low-pressure apparatus. There's a built-in safeguard against using a high-pressure cylinder on a low-pressure system. The low-pressure coupling nut won't thread all the way onto a high-pressure cylinder, leaving these bleed holes exposed. They prevent high-pressure air from entering a low-pressure system. Attaching a low-pressure cylinder to a high-pressure system voids the approval and is not recommended. Carefully note the cylinder gauge reading. You'll need this information later when you check your system's function. To help prevent damage to the regulator during donning, make sure the MMR is firmly mounted to its belt keeper. Don the AirHawk MMR air mask like a vest. Reach through the right shoulder strap and grasp the pressure gauge. Slide your left arm through the left shoulder strap, then bend slightly forward and rest the apparatus on your back. If your AirHawk has an optional chest strap, connect it. Then fasten the waist strap and adjust it for a snug fit. Straighten up and pull the shoulder strap tabs straight down. Now you may get the most comfortable fit by hiking the apparatus up while tightening the shoulder straps. Finally, tuck all the straps in so they lay flat against your body. Now before donning the Ultra Elite facepiece, perform some functional checks on the apparatus. Remove the MMR from the belt keeper. Press the release buttons to make sure the regulator is shut off. Check that the bypass knob is fully closed. Then open the cylinder valve and listen for the EOSTI. A properly functioning EOSTI will sound as system pressure rises from 50 to 200 psig. For units equipped with ICMs, as the pressure reaches approximately 200 psig, both visible and audible alarms activate, indicating that the unit is functional. When the system is fully pressurized, the ICM enters monitor mode. The unit remains in monitor mode until the unit depressurizes and the user presses the reset button twice in quick succession. If the EOSTI does not sound, do not use the apparatus. Have it checked and repaired by an MSA trained or certified repair person before use. Check the pass device in the ICM by standing still until the unit goes into pre-alarm. The unit goes into pre-alarm when the user is motionless for approximately 18 seconds. During pre-alarm, the device sounds 3 progressively louder tones and the red LEDs flash slowly. Movement of the unit cancels the pre-alarm. Stand still until the unit pre-alarms again. This time remain motionless until the unit goes into full alarm, approximately another 12 seconds. During full alarm, the pass repeatedly sounds 2 high-pitched tones followed by a buzz. During full alarm, the red LEDs flash rapidly. Once in full alarm, only pressing the reset button twice in rapid succession returns the unit to monitoring mode. Finally, check the manual alarm button. The ICM 2000 can be set into full alarm at any time by pressing the red alarm button. Use the reset button to reset. Compare the cylinder gauge reading to the pressure gauge reading. They should be within plus or minus 5% of each other. On low pressure cylinders, that's a range of 220 psig, 110 psig above to 110 psig below 2216 psig. On high pressure cylinders, the range is 450 psig, 225 above to 225 below 4500 psig. If your readings do not fall within these ranges, have the unit checked by an MSA trained or certified repair person. Now at this point, there should be no airflow from the MMR. If there is, press the release buttons and make sure the bypass is closed. If airflow persists, do not use the apparatus. Have it checked by an MSA trained or certified repair person. To check bypass operation, crack the bypass, listen for airflow, then close it. Examine the MMR for damage. Make sure the MMR sealing ring is present, in good shape, no nicks or gouges, and is properly seated in its groove. Well, this MMR checks out, so I'll perform a leak check on the system. Close the cylinder valve all the way and watch the harness pressure gauge. If pressure drops more than 100 psig in 10 seconds, the system has a leak. Do not use the apparatus until the leak is found and corrected. Finally, crack the bypass valve to slowly bleed off system pressure until it drops below 25%. That's approximately 550 psig on low pressure systems and approximately 1125 psig on high pressure systems. The EOSTI should sound and continue to sound until pressure drops below 200 psig. Now once again, if the EOSTI fails to sound, do not use the apparatus. Have it repaired by an MSA trained or certified repair person. Now let's move on to the facepiece. Loosen all the straps on the head harness until the end tabs are at the buckle. Place your chin in here and pull the head harness over the crown of your head. On the speed-on head harness, tighten the two bottom straps. If necessary, also tighten the temple straps. Tuck the straps in so they lay flat across your head. To adjust a standard rubber head harness, start with the lower neck straps and work your way up, tightening the straps by pulling them straight back. To check the facepiece fit, cover the inlet connection, inhale, and hold your breath for 10 seconds. If the seal's good, the facepiece will collapse against your face and stay collapsed. Now take a deep breath and hold it. Block the inlet connection and exhale to check that the exhalation valve works properly. If the valve is stuck, you'll feel a rush of air exiting the facepiece. If your facepiece seals correctly, you're ready to connect the AirHawk MMR. Be sure the MMR is closed by pressing the release buttons and checking the bypass knob. Open the cylinder valve all the way. Insert the regulator into the facepiece adapter and push it in until it locks. Tug on it to make sure it's connected. Inhale sharply to begin airflow. Check the bypass one more time by opening it and closing it. With the bypass open, there should be a continuous flow of air into the facepiece. If not, don't use the apparatus. Have it checked by an MSA trained or certified repair person. If your AirHawk MMR air mask passes all of the previous checks, it's ready for use. Remember to perform all of these tests before every use. Now, in some applications, you may not want to use cylinder air. For example, you may need to stay in an area longer than the expected service time of your cylinder, or the work you're performing may be particularly strenuous, and you want to save cylinder air for egress. In these cases, the optional airline adapter allows you to connect to a compressor or cascade system. To connect to a pressurized airline, remove the protective rubber boot and push the quick disconnect fitting onto the adapter. Note cylinder air pressure. You must have adequate cylinder air pressure to reach fresh air. Close the cylinder valve immediately. To disconnect, open the cylinder valve and disconnect the air line by pulling back on the quick disconnect sleeve. Replace the rubber boot. The NIOSH-approved service time for your AirHawk MMR air mask depends on the cylinder's air pressure capacity. For example, a cylinder containing 45 cubic feet of air is rated for 30 minutes of duration. The end of service time indicator will sound when there are approximately 5 to 7 minutes of service time remaining. For 45-minute cylinders, the end of service time indicator will sound when there are approximately 9 to 11 minutes remaining. For 60-minute cylinders, it will sound when there are approximately 12 to 14 minutes remaining. Exertion and elevated breathing rates shorten service time. If your end of service time indicator sounds, go to fresh air immediately. For more information on rated service time and end of service time indicators, see the Before Use Description section of the manual. While using the AirHawk MMR air mask, get in the habit of periodically checking the pressure gauge. Plan your work so that you're ready to go to fresh air when air pressure reaches approximately 25%. If at any time during use you experience reduced airflow, open the bypass and return to fresh air immediately. Because use of the bypass greatly reduces the service time of your air mask, return to fresh air immediately whenever it's used. If the air mask free flows or the EOSTI sounds, return to fresh air immediately. To doff the Ultra Elite facepiece, disconnect the AirHawk MMR by squeezing the release buttons and pulling it away from the mask. Stow the AirHawk MMR on the belt keeper. Loosen the facepiece straps, grasp the component housing, and lift the facepiece away from the face, then up. Close the cylinder valve and depressurize the system. If equipped with one, turn off the ICM. Doff the air mask by releasing the waist belt buckle and disconnecting the chest strap. Loosen the shoulder straps by pushing the release tabs out and away from your body. Slip out of the harness, one arm at a time. To change cylinders, make sure the cylinder valve is closed and the system is depressurized by cracking the bypass knob to bleed off any pressure. Unscrew the coupling nut. Loosen the cylinder strap and slide the empty cylinder out. Replace it with a fully charged one. If installing a different diameter cylinder, adjust the cylinder strap to accommodate the new size. Adjust the length of the strap by moving the black slide. Moving it toward the latch lengthens it. Moving it away shortens it. Adjust the strap length so that the strap is snug against the cylinder and the latch handle rests at 9 o'clock in relation to the cylinder. As the latch closes, it'll take up any remaining slack and hold the cylinder securely. Swing the latch closed until it stops, then lock it down. To check that the cylinder is secure, hold the back plate with one hand and pull on the cylinder with the other. If the cylinder isn't secure, adjust the strap length with the black slide and try again. Don't use the AirHawk MMR air mask if the cylinder isn't securely attached. Inspect the cylinder valve and coupling nut before reconnecting. In cold weather, look for ice or moisture. Remove any ice and dry the coupling nut and cylinder valve. Check the O-ring inside the coupling nut. If it's damaged or missing, remove the unit from service and replace the O-ring. Start the coupling nut by turning it counterclockwise until the threads seat. Then turn it clockwise and hand tighten. It's important to keep moisture out of the system. Moisture trapped in the regulator can freeze and disable it. To help prevent moisture and debris from entering the AirHawk MMR, stow it on the belt keeper. Make sure dirt and moisture do not accumulate inside the facepiece. NIOSH certification requires the use of a nose cup. It can help minimize fogging on the facepiece lens and works to control CO2 levels inside the mask. In cold weather operation, a buildup of ice in the regulator can interfere with its controls. Before using the AirHawk in sub-freezing temperatures, make sure that the release buttons and bypass knobs are dry, ice-free, and operating normally. During use, periodically check the bypass. Go to fresh air immediately if it becomes frozen. Before moving on to the inspection and maintenance segment of this program, let's review some important warnings and cautions. Perform all checks described in this program before using the AirHawk MMR air mask in a hazardous situation. If the apparatus does not pass these checks, do not use it until it's been inspected and repaired by an MSA trained or certified repair person. Failure to take these precautions could result in serious personal injury or death. NIOSH approval for the AirHawk MMR air mask includes the airline supply hose and airline adapter block. If, during use, breathing resistance increases or airflow stops entirely, open the bypass and return to fresh air. If the relief valve on the cylinder vents or the air mask begins to free flow, turn the cylinder valve until it's just cracked open. Then open the bypass and use the cylinder valve to control the airflow. Anytime you have to use the bypass, go to fresh air immediately. If you experience nausea, dizziness, fatigue, eye irritation, unusual odor or taste, or difficulty breathing, return to fresh air immediately. Carefully read all the instructions and tags and follow them. Always don and doff the apparatus in a safe, non-toxic atmosphere. Never break the face-to-facepiece seal in a hazardous area. Anything that interferes with the face-to-facepiece seal, such as a beard, bushy sideburns, or facial jewelry, affects your degree of respiratory protection. Never wear a facepiece under these conditions. By doing so, you and you alone assume all the risks for your health and maybe even your life. Eyeglass temples will also break the face-to-facepiece seal. A spectacle kit is available to mount prescription lenses inside the facepiece. When using the airline, be certain to turn off the cylinder valve. Otherwise, the system will draw air from both the cylinder and the airline. Failure to close the cylinder valve during airline operation could unexpectedly deplete the cylinder air pressure. That concludes the care and use section of this program. In the next segment, I'll show you cleaning and inspection procedures. Hi, glad you could make it for the second part of our training on the AirHawk MMR air mask from MSA. In this session, I'll show you how to clean, sanitize, and inspect your air mask. Repairs are covered step by step in the MMR User's Maintenance Manual. Now, it's important that you clean the mask before inspection to help protect against contact with hazardous contaminants that may be on the mask. If you suspect the presence of contaminants, wear appropriate skin and respiratory protection. However, if chemical, biological, or radioactive materials contaminate the mask, you must either decontaminate it or dispose of it according to all applicable regulatory standards. For the purposes of this demonstration, this AirHawk MMR air mask has not been exposed to a contaminant that would require special protection or disposal. All I'll need is MSA Confidence Plus germicidal cleaner, rubber gloves, a sponge, a soft bristled scrubbing brush, some clean, soft, lint-free cloth, a tube of Crystal Lube, and personal safety equipment towelettes. The MSA AirHawk MMR air mask comes with this inspection log. Use it to note your results and satisfy documentation requirements. Let's get started. Follow label instructions to mix MSA Confidence Plus germicidal cleaner into warm water, no hotter than 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Hot water may distort the rubber parts. Never use alcohol as a germicide or solvent-based or abrasive cleaners. Remove the nose cup, then scrub the face piece and nose cup with a soft brush or sponge. Rinse in plain warm water to remove all traces of the cleaning solution. Do a thorough job because cleaning solution left on the rubber may irritate your skin. Next, reach inside the facepiece and press down on the exhalation valve stem. Flush the open valve with clean water. To reduce drying time, wipe off excess water. Let the facepiece and nose cup air dry. Don't force dry by placing near a heater or in direct sunlight. In general, only the facepiece requires cleaning and disinfecting after each use. Use a sponge or soft brush dampened with a mild soap solution to remove deposits that may interfere with the normal operation of the apparatus. Now let's move to the cylinder. Make it a habit to refill cylinders as soon as possible after use. This ensures full service time for the next wearer. To maintain NIOSH approval, fill the cylinder with air meeting the requirements of the Compressed Gas Association Specification G7 for quality verification level or Grade D air or equivalent specifications. To remove the cylinder, open the bypass knob to release any trapped pressure. Next, unscrew the coupling nut. Loosen the cylinder strap and slide the cylinder out. Wipe the dirty cylinder with a damp cloth. Then check the body for cracks, dents, weakened areas, or other signs of damage. If you find damage, return the cylinder to an MSA service center. Inspect the valve and gauge for damage. Open the valve to make sure it works, but be sure to close it fully. Fiberglass and Kevlar composite cylinders must be hydrostatically tested every 3 years. Steel cylinders and carbon fiber cylinders like this one must be hydrostatically tested every 5 years. Check for a current hydrostatic test date. This label shows the date of the cylinder's original hydrostatic test. Subsequent hydrostatic test dates appear on labels like this one. Depending on cylinder type, the date of your inspection must be within 3 or 5 years of this date. Use a cloth dampened with soap and water to clean the standard pressure gauge, or ICM, after each use. Do not use cleaning solvents on the ICM. Next, clean and sanitize the AirHawk MMR and standby belt mount. Use a cloth dampened with a solution of Confidence Plus and water to clean the outside of the MMR. Be sure not to let the solution enter the regulator. Use a cloth dampened with clear water to remove any traces of the germicidal solution. Set the regulator aside to dry. Repeat the process on the standby belt mount. Once the MMR is dry, apply a very thin coating of Crystolube lubricant on the sealing O-ring. Connect and disconnect the MMR and wipe the facepiece adapter board to remove excess lubricant. According to ANSI standards, you should check the cylinder once a week and give the SCBA a thorough inspection after each use and at least once a month. We've already inspected the cylinder and cylinder valve. Before replacing it, check the cylinder strap for tears, fraying, or other signs of wear. Check the condition of the cylinder latch. Look for cracks or missing lugs. Check the backplate for bends, cracks, or splits. Examine the coupling nut for damaged threads. Make sure the coupling nut O-ring is present and in good condition. Replace if needed. Check the carrier and harness assembly and all the hoses for cuts, severe abrasion, or signs of chemical attack. Make sure all the hose fittings are tight and that straps and belts are securely attached to the carrier. Examine the AirHawk MMR for damage such as cracks, abrasion, or signs of chemical attack. Check the standby belt mount for damage or cracks. Check the pressure gauge lens. Replace it if you're unable to see the needle clearly. Inspect the ICM case or housing. Look for cracks or visible signs of damage. Do this monthly and after each use. Check for missing screws, loose covers, and damaged or missing buttons. Make sure all the buttons operate properly. See that the unit is securely attached to the hose. When the facepiece is dry, exercise the exhalation valve to be sure it doesn't stick. To reinstall the nose cup, stretch this opening around the exhalation valve housing flange. Then, fit this channel over the speaking diaphragm housing. Inspect the head harness for possible failure points. Check the harness straps for tears or missing buckles or straps. Test the elasticity of a standard head harness by stretching and releasing the straps. If they don't snap back to their original length, or if they're cracked or torn, replace them. Check that the Kevlar material crown on a speed-on harness is firmly attached to the straps. Look for broken stitches, rips, or tears. Replace if any of these conditions are present. Check the sealing edge for cracks, tears, or other damage. A deformed mask won't seal properly against your face. Look for rubber deterioration, dirt, holes, or tackiness. Next, check the lens for cracks, scratches, or gaps between the lens and lens ring seal. Tug on the lens ring to make sure it's secure. Finally, check the adapter assembly for cracks or other damage. The inlet gasket and disc valve must be present and in good condition. Now let's reassemble the AirHawk MMR air mask. Attach a cylinder and check the system as described in the Care and Use section of this program. After cleaning, sanitizing, and inspecting, test the MMR without donning the facepiece or pressurizing the system. First, make sure the cylinder valve is closed and the system is not pressurized. Fold the head harness out of the way and connect the MMR to the facepiece. Hold the facepiece to your face firmly enough to get an airtight seal. Do not don the facepiece. Inhale gently to create negative pressure. Hold for 10 seconds. If negative pressure is maintained, there is no leakage. Use personal safety equipment towelettes to clean the facepiece after inspecting the MMR. Stow the MMR on the standby belt mount. Do not use the apparatus if airflow is detected through the regulator. In addition to regular user maintenance, your air mask must be annually flow tested. Depending on individual usage, your air mask must be overhauled regularly. Air masks that use one or more cylinders a day must be overhauled every 3 years. Air masks that use one cylinder every other day must be overhauled every 8 years. And air masks that use one or fewer cylinders every 7 days must be overhauled every 15 years. Flow testing and overhaul procedures must be performed by an MSA trained or certified repair person or at an MSA certified service center. See the flow test and overhaul requirements section of your manual for more specific information. Or call the MSA Customer Service Center at 1-800-MSA-2222. They'll be glad to help. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.